Hello there, and welcome to this video about the Demons of Khorne. Are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. So, the Demons of Khorne army list is quite an interesting one. Army list construction is, as you'd expect, very different to anything else that's out there. Again, as you'd expect, it's very factional. However, you can still do weird stuff with it, such as taking Nurgle demons alongside Tzeentchian demons. Just for a bit of background, the demons of Nurgle and Tzeentch hate each other because they're both interested in change. However, they have diametrically opposed views as to how to get there. Nurgle via disease and corruption, and Tzeentch via corruption and magic. Khorne hates Slaanesh and vice versa. Not entirely sure why, mainly because I know Slaanesh is a bit kind of namby-pamby and Khorne is a bit kind of brutish. I surmise. I can't really remember the historic reason for that. However, there are those diametrically opposed principles that don't seem to be reflected massively in the Grand Army composition list. Anyway, let's have a look at what you can actually buy. So within your army list, you're allowed a greater demon, just the one. You're allowed a demonic herald of what with a mark per unit with the same demonic alignment. So if you, for instance, have a greater demon of Khorne, you can then take these. These are your core choices: Bloodletters, Fleshhounds, the minor demons, and the sort of basic battle line style demons, your normal, regular / heavy infantry, relating to the mark of your general, become core choices. So if you want a lot of plague bearers, your general should be a demon of Nurgle. Remember, of course, that your general is the model with the highest leadership. So if you're looking to do a list without a greater demon, you need a demon prince, because greater demons and demon princes both have a leadership of 9. So you get to pick. So you need a demon prince to do that. So if you wanted a bloodthirster, of Khorne, for instance, but you wanted plague bearers as battle line, then you'd need to take a demon prince of Nurgle to do so. The herald ability and the banner that the herald gets is frankly amazing, considering the fact that, much like the undead, demons, when they lose a round of combat, they disintegrate. They are unstable. So let's have a look at, I think first, as per usual, we should go to the demonic alignment and the special rules and just have a quick look at those before we move on to looking at because this gives you an idea of the flavour of the army before we look at the actual unit cards to see how they work on the tabletop. So there is this demonic special rule called, hold on while I adjust my seat, called Cleaving Blow, which is a bit like Killing Blow. I'm not sure. Oh dear, that was a weird interaction with the microphone. Look, see, my rule book, whenever I open it now, it goes straight to special rules. Because the universal special rules seem to be the thing that I seem to have problem sticking in my head. And my head's normally quite effective. So Killing Blow rolls a natural 6 when making a roll to wound. Same. Enemy models whose troop type is infantry or cavalry don't get an armor or regen save. They also just die. Now, cleaving blow is a natural 6 to wound. The model just doesn't get an armor save, but it doesn't kill. They've also said if an attack wounds automatically, for instance, if you hit with poisoned attacks, then you don't get your cleaving blow. The recent FAQ clarified that you can, if you roll a poisoned attack and you want to have a go at getting a cleaving blow, you still can have a go at that. But if you roll it, it doesn't automatically wound. So you either go for the automatic wound or you make a wound roll and take the risk of the wound actually not occurring. Demonic gives you all of this stuff. So they are unbreakable, which is cool, immune to psychology, everything causes fear, everything has magical attacks, everything gets warp spawned. Now, warp spawned means you don't get regen saves against magical weapons. In addition, all demonic models have a 5-up ward caused by a non-magical attack. So if you're hitting demons with magical attacks, they don't get their ward save and they don't get their regen save. So that's magical attacks are pretty nasty against demons. They've also got demonic instability, which works very much like the undead. You take a leadership test, you modify your leadership by the combat result, and however many points you failed by, given the modification. Remember, the modification of combat results modifies your dice roll. So if you've got a demonic unit, say with leadership 7, which a lot of them are, and you roll, for instance, a 2, but you lost the combat by, sorry, not a 2, a 3, but you lost the combat by 10, then that means essentially your leadership roll is a 13, from which you subtract the leadership score, and you therefore lose a further 6 wounds. Demonic locus. This is demonic loci. I love the fact that they've used sort of proper Latin style words, because it's one locus, multiple loci. Although I think grammatically that should be loci, as in a double I, but you know, we're splitting hairs here. Anyway, if you're within range of the locus, you reduce the number of wounds suffered from the demonic instability rule by 1, while within 12. So it's not within command range, which is 12 because it's a battle standard bearer. But what that's saying is if you put your battle standard bearer on like a mount, which gives it a large target, which I don't think you can in this list. There's no like large target chariots either. So no, it's always going to be 12. The other thing about demonic instability is if you roll a natural double 6, the entire unit just disappears. If it's within range of the locus, however, the battle standard bearer, then that doesn't happen. It kind of loses that double 6 wound. So where you put your locus is really important. Now, the locus only affects models with the same demonic alignment. So although you can take a combined god list if you really want to, it seems to be built for certainly the core chunk of the army to have the same alignment, so the same god. Infernal Favour is essentially an ability that reduces the number of wounds you take by whatever the Infernal Favour rule is. It's not cumulative with other Infernal Favour rules. However, unlike similar sort of abilities within the undead, so Khemri and vampire counts, this does seem to be cumulative with the locus. There doesn't seem to be anything in particular that says you can't use this and this at the same time. So if you have demonic instability 2 and you're within range of the locus, you suffer 3 less wounds than you should have done. These are the rules which apply to to the demons of a particular god. So demons of Khorne hate demons of Slaanesh, and they get +1 to strength when they charge. Not its mount, so blood crushers, the blood crushers themselves, but the bloodlust on top of the blood crushers do get +1 strength. Demons of Khorne get, like Warriors of Chaos, you have to roll, re-roll hit rolls of 6 against them. So they're kind of resistant to poison, as you'd expect. So that's quite characterful. Demons of Slaanesh this is wicked. They get to add 1 to their maximum possible charge range, and +1 to the modifier of +1 modifier to charge or pursuit rolls. So they get +1 to charge rolls, and they get to increase the range. So if they've got Swift Stride, for instance, which, as you'd imagine, quite a lot of Slaanesh demons have, they get to roll 2d6, pick the best, roll a further d6. If that's more than 9, you add 9 to the move, plus you automatically add another 1. So you can add 10 to their charge move. Demons of Tzeentch get +1 to cast, and they hate Nurgle, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this is a modifier to... I don't really think they need to say that, because they've already made it clear in the miscast section, but it's nice that they've added that little section there just to avoid any difficulty. We'll go through the spells afterwards, after we've gone through the stuff, because I think there's some really cool builds that you can make with the current lot of demons. So arguably and weirdly, the weakest on the tabletop, I'd say, are the Khorne demons. You've got a Bloodthirster who's amazing. He's got weapon skill 10, he's got movement 8, he can fly 10, so he's pretty manoeuvrable. Hasn't got Swift Stride though, so he's charging like as normal. He is obviously a behemoth. You can put him on a massive base if you want. And he has 6 attacks, 6 wounds, initiative 7, which is pretty high, leadership 9, which is pretty good. He can only take one of the following. So he's got a hand weapon, but he can take one of these weapons, the Great Axe being obviously the best potentially. However, the Blood Flail does multiple wounds, so that's good against monsters. The Great Axe is also good against monsters because it's got Monster Slayer. However, it is slightly less reliable because you do need to roll a 6 to wound for that to work. And he's kind of got 8 attacks. You can increase that, but like, you know, even if you hit with all 6, you've still only got a 1 in 6 chance of... No, in fact, you're getting towards a... So if you hit with all 6, you're quite likely to roll the Monster Slayer result. So that's pretty sort of reliable, although, you know, you try rolling 6 dice and getting a 6 every time, it's not going to happen. And sod's law, in a game where you need it, it won't happen. The Lash of Khorne gives him strike first, which is, you know, pretty good. Remember, like, when you charge, you get +3 to the initiative. So when you charge, he'll be probably operating at initiative 10, i.e. more or less strike first. Strike first just gives you initiative 10 in this new iteration, so he's striking simultaneously with them, and he'll be up to strength 7 anyway, so I'm not sure that you'll see much of the Lash of Khorne. You'll see a bit of the Great Axe, and you might see a bit of the Blood Flail. He's got a good amount of magic resistance, causes terror, it does everything that you'd expect. One thing that's cool though is that they've given all the Demons of Khorne Impetuous rather than Rage, rather than Frenzy. Now, Frenzy would have given them an extra attack when they attack until they get defeated. However, they'd lose it, and it would make the army... Essentially, your opponent could lead you around the table all the time and essentially take Frenzy away from you, and that would... It just wouldn't work mechanically. It wouldn't keep that kind of, you know, barely under control, barely controlled rage that Khorne is famous for. He does get Furious Charge, which I think is +1 attack on the charge, so that's pretty good. And he gets Demonic Charge, which means his impact hits always have AP of 2. So he's a bit like, he hits like a heavy chariot basically. You've then got the Demonic Herald, pretty boring stat line to be honest, but you can put it on a Juggernaut, and you can obviously make it your Locus or Battle Standard Bearer. There's Juggernaut, makes him toughness 5, makes him 3 wounds for additional 50 points. 2 wounds is not very high, but then again he's not very expensive, so kind of what you'd expect really. You've got the Bloodletters. They don't really have any special rules, nor can they upgrade to any special rules. They've just got a bit of magic resistance, but -1's not that much. They've only got Calloused Hides, and they're only toughness 3. So for 14 points, they're not massively good value for money. Fleshhounds, I think, are a much better value for money because they've got a bit more toughness. They've got an extra wound. They count as heavy cavalry, so you can take 8, and that's two ranks, which is pretty useful. You'll see, like here, the magic number of... So if anybody doesn't know, every Chaos God has a magic number. 6 is Slaanesh, 7 is Nurgle, 8 is Khorne, 9 is Tzeentch. So you'll see in Tzeentch, a lot of the units are 9+. A lot of the units in Slaanesh are 6+ or multiples of 3. A lot of the units in Nurgle are, well, actually just Plague Bearers, I think, are 7+. But you'll see a lot of that kind of numeric... I suppose synergy, reflection, vibration happening through these lists. Fleshhounds you can upgrade as well to give them Vanguard, which means they get like a pre-game move, or you can give them Ambushers, which means they might come on later. I don't really like the Ambushers rule because it's not very reliable, but I suppose if you've got lots of these units, you can, if you've got like 3 units of 5 of these, for instance, you could give them all Ambushers, which wouldn't be massively expensive, and then you're more likely than not to have one come on every turn and just disrupt your opponent's backfield. And with a move of 8 and counter charge, they're going to be, toughness 4, weapon skill 5. They're going to be difficult to hit. They're going to be difficult to wound. They've got the 2 wounds, and they've got their 5 at ward. Light armor is nothing really, but you can roll 6s. It is possible. Basically, the maths on a 5 at ward is you add 50% to your wounds or the number of models. So if you've got 5, that's 10 wounds. Essentially, you have to do 15 wounds with a 5 at ward save to get rid of them. Then you've got Blood Crushers. These are pretty good. Again, they've got weapon skill 5, so they're fairly hard to hit. They've got a decent toughness. They've got 3 wounds, which makes them really fairly survivable. They've got the old Hellblades. We probably need to look at those next, because the Hellblades is what essentially gives them cleaving blow, so they've got the potential to ignore armor. They've got all the rules that you'd expect, really. Swift Stride I wasn't expecting, because that makes them quite quick and makes them very good at getting a charge off. It also means their maximum charge range increases, so they're going to be rolling for Impetuous quite frequently with a 7, so 16 inches away they're going to have to roll a charge, or maybe they'll be forced to roll a charge. And the brass-bound hooves of the Juggernauts, so they're up to strength 5 when they charge, because of that's the Khorne alignment rule. So they're pretty good on the charge and actually reasonably survivable. They've got light armor and barding, so they've got a 5-up save, which is obviously better than a 6, but it's still not very much. Oh dear. Then you've got a Blood Throne. I mean, this is a heavy chariot. It's obviously got a good amount of impact hits. It's got Gore Feast, so for each wound an enemy uses by impact hits, if you roll d6, and for each roll of 6, the model immediately recovers a single lost wound. This is quite a good mount for your Locus, because essentially what that does is it adds 4 wounds to your Locus, so you go up to 6 wounds. and it's definitely toughness 5 with an armor value of 4, so that gives it a decent amount of armor. It's got his 5 at wards, and also impact hits heal wounds. So this is a good way of keeping your Locust alive for longer. Also, friendly Demons of Khorne are within this model's command range, so if you got a Locust on it, then its command range becomes 12, and that made friendly units that are within its command range, and if the unit made a charge, it may re-roll any hit rolls of a natural 1, so it makes them slightly more reliable. I quite like that as a selection. I think that works quite well. You then finally got the Skull Cannon, which is a rare choice, and you're a bit limited as to take it. It gives you a cannon. Yeah, it gives you a cannon. It shoots like a cannon, like you bounce, blah 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 blah. It's quite short range, but 36 plus like an artillery dice, where you might get like 6 or whatever, 4 or 6 seems to be like the median result. So you're looking at an effective range of about 46 inches, including the bounce. Or it's got this scatter shot, which is actually a breath weapon, so I quite like that actually. That's quite cool. And its stomp attacks have an AP of 3, apart from against behemoths, so it's pretty heavy. Does this get the same thing? No, even though it's basically the same model, the cannon gets more on its stomps. Does that even get stomps? No, it doesn't. It's the same model. It's a bit odd. Anyway, never mind. Great Demon of Great and Clean one is 7 toughness 7, so really tough. Has got 7 wounds, which isn't a lot, but again the magic number of Nurgle is 7, so you see that kind of numeric synergy or resonance happening. So level 1 wizard, you can upgrade it to level 4, which makes it 420 points, so we're getting quite pricey. You can take some demonic gifts. It's got regen 5, but again remember the warp spawn rule means that that's destroyed by being hit by magical attacks. It's a behemoth, so it does heavy stomp attacks. It's got infernal favor 2, which is basically take 2 off as and when it fails any break tests or demonic instability tests. It's got poisoned attacks, which is pretty cool. I mean, strength 6 is not really going to need them very often, but pardon me, every little helps, as it were. And I think it can take one of the following. So it can take an extra attack, or the big bile sword thing, which has strike less. Also, regen saves are not allowed. Armor and ward as usual. And then Plague Flail, which is like a normal flail, strength +2, only applies during the first round of combat, but this one has multiple wounds, D3, an AP 3, combined with its strength of 8. You might see quite a few Plague Flails happening. Not a lot of units have, I mean, obviously all undead have regen saves, and quite a lot of Nurgle weirdly have regen saves. But that's other than that, there's not a lot of regen saves out there, so you might not see that quite so often. You've got Herald of Nurgle. He's only got 2 wounds though, which is quite light. Again though, you can put him on a palanquin, which is only 40 points, and you're gonna do it because it gives him an extra 4 wounds. Especially if this is your Locust, you're almost certainly going to put him on a palanquin, because it just gives him an extra 4 wounds for an extra 40 points, which is just amazing. Doesn't do anything it gives him a few extra, pathetic attacks. I say a few extra pathetic attacks, they're poison, so they automatically wound on 6s, which is, again, pretty good. It's got regen 6+, and the Herald itself has got poison attacks, so that's pretty cool. But if you're going down Nurgle, I think palanquins and auto include. Plague Bearers, toughness 4 helps a little bit, but they are really low initiative, so they're pretty much always going to be striking last, not even against dwarves. the 13 points each, which is quite pricey. They do have regen 6, so regen 6 and a 5 up ward is pretty good. However, again, due to warp spawned, both get negated by magic weapons. So, you know, again, they are pretty pretty. If you've got something that I'm just checking, model with this special rule cannot make regen saves against a wound caused by characters that are not warp spawned cannot join units that are, and vice versa. Yeah, cool. So, you know, again, if you're hitting them with magic weapons, they're pretty flaky. So Warriors of Chaos, for instance, as most of their weapons have magical attacks, are going to have a bit of a field day. Also, Demons against Demons is going to be pretty bad as well, because, again, all of their attacks are magical. Well, all their hand weapon attacks are magical. Then you got beasts, and these, I love beasts. They're just brilliant. And they're still brilliant in this edition. They don't have random move. They've gone back. I think they used to have a fixed move. You do have to... Pardon me, everybody's had a cold around me for the last week, so I think I'm just about getting it. You do have to take them in a unit. You can't just take them on their own, which is an interesting choice because, you know, they feel like loners, but, you know, whatever. I mean, they do have the loner rule, but they're not alone. You know, whatever. They have poison attacks, quite a lot of poison attacks. They're not cheap, but again, they got 4 wounds. Toughness 5 is quite high. Regen 5 as well, including their 5+ demonic ward. I mean, they don't have any armor, but, you know, they are impetuous because all they want to do is cuddle you and crush you beneath their bulk. And Father Nurgle really rather approves of his lovely puppies making friends with the enemy. All of them can issue and accept challenges, you know, just like the Living Saints of the Grail Knights. These have a similar sort of rule, and you don't get bonus points for engaging with them in the flank or rear arc because, well, basically they're a bit like Slimer, you know. They're kind of, everything's just slimy and horrible behind them, so you don't really derive much utility from charging them weirdly. They've got AP 1 and Armor Bane 1, so D6+1 attacks that are poisoned. You know, again, like in the FAQ, if you rolled, like, I don't know, there's 2 of them, you might roll 9 attacks total, you might wound a couple of times, you might think, well, actually, I need the Armor Bane because I need the 2 AP, so the 1 or 2 that you might roll as poisoned attacks, you might think, well, I'm going to roll to wound anyway because I'm fishing for 6s on the wound rolls, not on the... So, you know, you can choose to do that. However, if you do choose to do that, you lose the automatic wound ability. Nurglings. Nurglings are wicked. Like 7, again, magic number 7. 7 wounds. They're pretty weak, but they've got poisoned attacks. So there's 3 of them. You can get a decent amount of attacks out of them. You know, they've got hand weapons, which means all their attacks are magical. You know, they're pretty good. I quite like these. They're skirmishers, so they're pretty tricky to hit, to be honest. And actually, they're not that expensive. You know, 7 wounds with a 6 at regen and 5 at ward. That's pretty good. You know, if you got 3 of them, that's 21 wounds. Again, like I said, you add 50%, so that's about 11. So that goes with 32. And then with regen 6, that essentially adds another like 6 wounds. So essentially, you've got to do 38 wounds to them to wipe the unit, which might be difficult. Plague drones are essentially the big things with the plague bearers on top. They got toughness 5. Again, that's pretty tough with 3 wounds. They've got death's heads, which we'll talk about in a minute. They're pretty cool. And plague swords. Again, there's quite a lot of plague sword stuff. We'll talk about that in a sec. The Rotfly's got armor bane 2. You know, 3 attacks. Weapon skill 3. Not going to get that many hits off, but you know they're still hitting undead on 3s, and then Armor Bane 2s, you know, pretty nasty. I mean, Demons versus Undead is a pretty fair matchup on the Undead, really, because, you know, again, all the magical attacks. Do magical attacks turn off Undead regen? I'm not sure they do, actually, now I've said that. You're going to take a Proboscis, which gives it +1. You know, Initiative 3 might not be that important, but you think on the charge, you know, the Plague Drones, they do have Swift Stride, so they've got a pretty long charge. They've got Fly 9, so actually Fly 9 plus like your maximum Swift Stride, they've got an 18-inch charge range, so they're quicker than you'd think. Combined with, so, you know, in essence, you're Initiative 5 on the charge, or 6. There's a lot of things that are Initiative 5 in the game, a lot of, especially elves, that might hit you first, so getting that extra initiative is actually pretty important, and it's only 2 points per model. Given they're like 63 already, if you're taking these, then you're going to be doing that, really, aren't you? And then you get a Venom Sting, which replaces one of the Rotfly's attacks, but it replaces it with an AP1 Armor Bane 1, which Rotflies are Armor Bane 2, so this one gives you a guaranteed AP against one of its attacks. It just, I mean, it adds to the like accountancy problem, and I'm not sure why they've added that as an option, because it's not really that much better, but you know, whatever. That's what they've decided to do. Now we get to the gods that I think have a lot going for them. Slaanesh is Keeper Secrets is movement 8. It has Swift Stride, so it might be charging 9. No, 10, because Slaanesh. So it's got like an 18-inch charge, which is pretty good. Weapon skill 7 is pretty high. Strength 6 is pretty high. It's got 6 attacks. It's got Impaling Claws. These are its weapons. So strength 6, but AP 2, Killing Blow, and Strike First. That's pretty nasty. Yeah. Should I talk about that? I'm going to talk about that now. Like, I've seen a combination with Slaanesh. So the problem that you get with Slaanesh, right, is you make it a level 4, which has now made it 420 points, okay? However, you can give it Demonology. And, you know, one of the spells from Demonology is called Demonic Familiars, which says, no, it's not called, it's not that, that's not that one. It's Demonic Vessel, in which it pours into itself lots of demons to make it better. Now, until the end of this turn, the caster, their mount, and any unit they have joined gain +1 modifier to their strength and attacks characteristic, and improve the AP of their weapons by 1. So, strength and attacks. So it goes up to strength 7, and it then has 7 attacks, right? So you're going to cast it and then get a charge off. Again, you're reasonably likely to get an 18-inch charge. So you're going a long distance charge, 7 attacks, weapon skill 7, strength 7. Okay? AP 3 now. But wait, there's more. You could also get Demonic Vigor, which, until the end of this turn, target friendly unit gains a +1 modifier to its movement, toughness, and initiative. So it then goes up to toughness 7. It then goes up to movement 9. Now, remember, it's, you know, there's a reasonable chance of it getting a 10-inch charge, so movement 19. So it's now weapon skill. That added 1 to weapon skill, didn't it? No, sorry, I haven't added 1 to weapon skill. But it's now weapon skill 7, strength 7, toughness 7, 7 attacks, AP 3. That's pretty nasty. And then, but wait, there's more. You could give it another attack if you want. You could give it no armor saves. I mean, it loses AP 2, but you know that's AP infinite, so that's pretty good. But those are just the generic demonic gifts. I wonder if there's anything in Slaanesh that that might make it better. Oh, look, there we go. Enemy models engaged in combat with this model cannot use the Inspiring Presence special rule of their general. So you charge your Keeper Secrets into a unit, right? You know, so this is going to be good for taking out relatively weak units, okay? If you give it Enrapturing Gaze. You could take Allure of Slaanesh, so enemy units must make a leadership test before making any rolls to hit against this one, and then it can only hit on 6s, which is just mega. Like, it's just with that spell lore. I mean, yeah, I know you could do the same one to the Great and Clean one because it's also got Demonology, right? So you could make this guy movement 6, but he's not got Swift Stride, so movement 6, he's got to charge normally, so he's probably, the maximum he's really going is 12 inches, not like, you know, not like, you know, 19, so a little bit less. You could make him Strength 7, Toughness 8, Initiative 5, and 6 attacks. So I just think that's a bit that's a bit much. Yeah, and also it's got +1 to pursue as well, which just, I don't know, it just feels like there's a bit much that you're adding on to a Keeper Secrets to make it like this ultra killy horrible thing that can, you know, possibly take out like a dragon in one hit. Like, it's very, 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 very good. Well, that said, it's only got the ward saves. Like, it's got no other saves, so it's not wearing any armor. It's basically naked. I mean, which is again quite characterful. Then you got Herald, again, pretty weak. Like, you're going to have to put it in a unit to protect it. You could put it on a chariot. Now, putting it on chariots is all, I think, is pretty much your, pardon me, is pretty much your best bet. Because what putting it on a chariot do is it makes it immune to Killing Blow style effects, because Killing Blow style effects and, you know, Monster Hunter or whatever it's called, the one that does that against monsters, works only on monsters, infantry, cavalry, blah, 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 blah. They don't work on chariots. And remember, if it says cavalry, it means light, heavy, and monstrous. It means all types of cavalry. So, you know, Killing Blow works on pretty much everything. You've then got Demonettes. Now, Demonettes are going to have a lot of attacks because Piercing Claws basically give them an extra attack. They're also AP 1. But we'll look at the weapons in a sec. Seekers, again, are just going to have loads and loads of attacks. They've got Fast Cavalry, Open Order, which is great. I love Open Order, especially with a 9-inch move. The Steeds have got poisoned attacks, which they definitely should have. It's all very characterful. The Steed of Slaanesh has got Armor Bane. You know, they're going to be hitting you with loads and loads of attacks, and they're going to be able to, you know, hit you fairly reliably with like a 5-inch move, and then +1 to the charge. Like, I think people are underestimating how much that extra inch is going to matter. I mean, maybe the guys listening aren't, because everybody knows what an extra inch means, but especially on the tabletop. Hold on. Then you got Fiends. Fiends are pretty cool. I quite like Fiends. I quite like Fiends in general. They have this soporific musk, which essentially means you can't use strike first and subject to strike last. So they've kind of got a variant on strike first. Initiative 7, actually, in cancelling off strike first is pretty good. They've got toughness 4, which makes them pretty tough for a Slaanesh model. And they have one attack with this, which actually gets the strike first rule. So they each have, and they got piercing claws, which is, I think, additional attacks as well. So they've effectively got 3 attacks at AP 1. The Hellflayer is, I love the Hellflayer. That's the one with like loads of grindy wheels, pulled by a couple of steeds. Is brilliant. Like you can't take it as a mount though. It's the one that you can't put your icon on, as it were. So it's got loads and loads of impact hits, 2d6 plus 1. I mean, it's a light chariot, so it's no AP, and actually it's only its strength 4. But it does have first charge, so it cancels off ranks. Again, the steeds have got poisoned attacks. It's got swift stride, which, remember, you +1 to charge. So that's 10, probably plus 9. So it's going to be getting off charges. And also, it's got counter charge, which is an amazing rule for any kind of cavalry. So Bretonnians think they've got the upper hand against it. Absolutely not. It's got counter charge, which means it does impact hits, because counter chargers counters charging, so they do impact hits, which again happen at initiative 10, because they're basically they have the strike first rule. I'm not sure that actually that they do have a strike first rule. I think they just happen at initiative 10. But I mean, even if they do have the strike first rule, that means that they've just got initiative 10. Seeker Chariot of Slaanesh. This is the one that you can mount it on. The Exalted Seeker Chariot you can only have as a mount. So this is the one that can be in a unit of 1 to 3, but you can mount a character on it. So actually, if you've got your icon bearer, if you want her, him, he, she, them, they, whatever, on a Seeker Chariot, you can then do that and then add it to another unit of 3, because they've all got light chariots, so they can band together in a unit of like 4 Seeker Chariots. Which actually they're not that expensive. Again, they're really, really quick. They do a reasonable amount of impact hits. Again, they've got counter charge, which is pretty brilliant. So if you're staring down some Bretonnians or a heavily mounted army, again, this is or even Khemri with their chariots. Like you get your counter charge against chariots as well. So. Again, just to remind you, counter charges, if you get charged by cavalry or chariots in the front arc, you can essentially move D3 inches as your charge reaction, and then you count as charging that distance. So because you count as charging that distance, you do impact hits. So that's really, really good. Defensively and aggressively, they've got first charge to take away the opponent's rank bonuses. Exalted Seeker Chariots has slightly more impact hits, has another couple of Steeds of Slaanesh, I think another Demonet crew, another Demonet crew, and because it's a heavy chariot, those impact hits have AP2. So that's just a better version of the Seeker Chariot. Also, it's got a better armor save. It's got a 4-up armor save, which is really rare in Slaanesh, so you might want to do that. I think the Hellflayer's only got 5. So you're probably going to be putting your icon in this unit, if not one of these included in, so you might take 3 chariots. Now, I've built some of these, and they are an absolute nightmare to put together. It's a beautiful miniature, but absolutely, it's so horrible to glue the damn things together. Hellflayers are like the worst. They're just all the wheels, and it drove me nuts putting that together. I've got glue everywhere, and I'm not a messy modeler really, but relatively speaking, you can't see my workspace over there. That's to be fair, it's not all my fault. I mean, this is my son's Seraphon. He's like 8, he's 8. No, his birthday is, around now, so I have to figure it out. Lord of Change. Oh my god, I love what they've done with Tzeentch. Basically, everything's a wizard, which is well done, G-Dub. That's exactly what Tzeentch should be, and it's not massively overpowered. You think it might be, but it isn't, because of how they've controlled what their wizards can do. So you've got a Lord of Change. You make him level 4, obviously, because it's a Lord of Change. Why the hell wouldn't it be? You can give it this Tzeentchian one, which gives it flaming attacks, multiple shots, and quick shot. So quick shot means it can move and shoot it, and that also means that it can stand and shoot from any range. It's got multiple flaming attacks, and it's got BS6, so it's probably going to hit with quite a lot of them. So why you wouldn't do it? It's only 20 points. I mean, that's pretty good. That's, almost as good as a unit of Quarrelers, to be honest, given the BS6 and, all of that. So that's pretty good. Now, I just want to take you to the demonic gifts. Gifts of Corn, they're all, well, no, we'll talk about those separately, but I just want to show you, where's 2 heads? There you go. So this is how you make Kairos. So you give it 2 heads, it knows 1 more spell. So in effect, it makes it a level 5 wizard, but doesn't. You get 5 spells. So that's pretty cool. There's other stuff you can do with Lord of Change, and we'll have a chat about those in a sec. But yeah, that's pretty cool. The Herald, again, is automatically a level 1 wizard, only 90 points, but pretty weak. So it's going to go in a unit, or it's going to go on a mount. And the mounts they've got are really good. They've got a really wide range of Lords of Magic they can use, and they need it because there's, you're going to have a lot of magic. Pink Horrors, I think, are really good. They've got essentially Flames of Tzeentch, which are just amazing shooting weapons. Yeah, I mean, again, Tzeentch is very, very lightly armoured. They're a bit like Slaanesh in that regard. You're going to go through them quite quickly when you get there, but getting there is just going to be so painful. People are worried about Wood Elf shooting. The amount of magic this stuff is going to kick out at you is just insane. They've got, they can cast one of the spells as a bound spell with a power level equal to the unit's current rank bonus. Remember, your maximum rank bonus is 2, so you need to take, because they're regular infantry, every rank is 5, so you need to take 15 to get the +2. You're probably going to take 20 for a bit of redundancy, which means you get less shooting because, Flames of Tzeentch don't have volley fire. But anyway, so 20, that's still 240 points. With a few upgrades, you've got your 250, you take 2 of them, and then that's your 25% done on core. So that's pretty good. They don't have any weird split rules. Oh my god. It's because it says it here about them splitting, because that's always been a thing in the lore, but there doesn't seem to be anything here about that. So that's good. I mean, the other thing is, remember, Daemons of Tzeentch get +1 to cast. However, this is cast as a bound spell, so you don't get +1 to cast on bound spells because that affects the wizard, and it's not a wizard, so you just get your rank bonus. So +2 is the max you're going to get. Blue Horrors don't have magic. They're one of the few units that don't. They are regular infantry, but they do have flames, and they are ballistic skill 3. So if you're looking for a few cheap units, but if you look at the bound spell they've got, it's actually okay. It's, if you're worried about it being massively brilliant, it's not. It's actually fairly well balanced. Flamers. Now, how they've set up the Flamer unit, I think, is just brilliant, right? So you've got 3 to 6 models in the unit, so you're probably going to take 6 of them, right? 240 points. You can upgrade one of them to a Pyroclaster, which is like a champion, which has a better ballistic skill. You can then spend a further 40 points upgrading that Pyroclaster to an Exalted Flame, which gives you another wound. for another 40 points. I know that sounds like a lot. However, an Exalted Flamer can be a wizard. So you've got units with wizards in them, like just built into them with all of those spells. So you can essentially pick laws that have like magic missiles as their spell, and then essentially multicast all of that stuff every single turn. Now remember, they only get +1 to cast, but you can make it a level 3 wizard, which I think is just it's brilliant. It's so characterful of Tzeentch. I think it's absolutely wonderful. So you've got your unit of, let's say you're doing like a mini max thing, so you've got 3, so that's 120 points, that's 160, 167. Make the Exalted Flamer a level 3 wizard, 227, and you can then cast what have you got? Demonology. So Demonology signature spell is the summoning, 2d6 strength 4 hits, AP 1. That's pretty good. I think Dark Magic's is also Doombolt, which is the small blast template, strength 3, AP 2. It doesn't scatter. That's 24-inch range, which improves the range on their Warp Flame. Summoning is 18-inch range. You've got Elementalism, which is a Storm Call. Meh. I mean, -1 movement and initiative. Your initiative's pretty rubbish anyway, so that doesn't really matter. And you've got Illusion, where the signature spell, enemy suffer. But I mean, if it's a level 3 wizard, you get to roll 3, so you're likely to get some kind of magic missile if you're doing that. Again, that's only 220 points for like a 3. If you increased it to 6, that's another. So that's like 350 points for a level 3 wizard and an entourage. And essentially the Exalted Flamer is a champion, so you can't like select it out, or it's just really good. I really like that. And these, I think, if they're allowed in tournaments, you're going to see a few of them. Warp Flame is 18-inch range, strength 4, multiple shots D3, quick shot, move and shoot, which is, as I've discussed, it's not move and shoot, it's march and shoot. I don't know why they didn't just call it march and shoot, because that's what it does to you, but whatever. March and shoot, flaming attacks, multiple shots D3. So if you've got 6 of them, they're going to be, probably rolling like 12 attacks. They've got quick shots, so they don't suffer a penalty to move and shoot. The Exalted Flame is going to be hitting on 5, on 2s, 3 at long range. They're going to be hitting 3, 4 at long range. Strength 4. I mean, that's all pretty good. I really, really like that. You've then got some Brimstone Horrors are now swarms. I'm not sure they were before. I think they possibly were. I can't remember, but that's good. They've got 6 wounds. They will just die really quickly, but that's kind of their job, really. But they do have flaming attacks, so you charge a couple of those into like a skeleton flank, and they're going to do a bit of work. Screamers are sort of monster killers. Basically, they do like D3 damage against monsters, but they're only strength 4, so Lamprey's Bite. I mean, you are hoping a little bit. Chariot of Tzeentch. Again, this is something that you can mount a unit on. I'm not quite certain what the difference is between a Chariot of Tzeentch and a Burning Chariot of Tzeentch. I don't know what a Chariot of Tzeentch looks like. I can't recall the model. But anyway, Burning Chariots are just okay. So it's got an Exalted Flamer on, as we've discussed. An Exalted Flamer may be upgraded to being a better wizard. So again, for 250 points, you end up with a heavy chariot with a 4-up save, 4 wounds. So reasonably survivable. But again, you can make it a level 3 wizard. Like, it's just insane. Just the sheer amount of magic. All right, and then you got a Demon Prince, which again you're only really going to be taking because you want your general to be different to the Greater Demon. So a different mark. So that's for like a combined art of combined gods sort of thing. It looks exactly the same as the Warriors of Chaos Demon Prince. So there's not Soul Grinders. Now I hate these models. Like, I just hate the look of them. They're so stupid. They definitely should just have been left in 40k. But anyway, they've got rules for some reason. Like, they've got rid of some other stuff that I really, really like. and they've, you know, kept this bloody monstrosity in. However, it is really good. So you've got Baleful Torrent and Warp Gaze. So these are your weapons options that you can upgrade to. You automatically get a Harvester Cannon. So a Harvester Cannon is basically Grape Shot. That's all it does. So it's fairly close range, but, you know, essentially you roll the artillery dice for number of shots, and that's how many you get. The strength 4. It's got ballistic skill 3, so not that good. You've got the Baleful Torrent, which is a column of fire style attack, which is, you know, wonderful. I love the fire thrower rules. I think, you know, I don't think you're going to see many of them because they're a bit difficult to wield reliably. However, it is cool and it can do a lot of damage. Warp Gaze is you've got a bolt thrower. Basically, it's just a bolt thrower with multiple wounds too. What more can you ask for on a like behemoth? So I mean, essentially the behemoth can see over pretty much everything as well. So it's a bolt thrower with like unlimited line of sight. And this thing's, you know, not terrible in combat either because it's got Iron Claw, which is strength AP3. And it's got D6 plus 1 stomp attacks. And because it's a large target, it's probably got AP2 on the stomps. So, and it causes terror. And it's got Furious Charge and Reserve Move. So it gets to move after it's shot. It's just, you know, so you move 8 inches, unload everything, move it again. I think it's really good. But I hate the model, so I hate GW for making it really good. One thing that you will be taking, is this one. Totem of Eternal War. Reduce the number of wounds suffered due to demonic instability by additional D3. People will be looking at that and thinking that's brilliant. Plus D3 combat result. This basically means every single demonic unit within 12 inches of your locus gets plus D3 combat result for the purposes of this. So it means it's not going to swing a combat so you win it, but it is going to make sure that no demons crumble, or very few demons crumble. Again, it doesn't say this doesn't stack with stuff. So the demonic locus, right? Demonic locus reduces that by 1 anyway. So it's D3 plus 1. You know, that's really good to everything. You know, that's brilliant. You know, way better than this. Way better than this, and arguably quite a bit better than that. So Totem of Eternal War, to me, that's a pretty much an auto include. So let's have a quick look at the gifts. This video's gone on for ages because the demon list is really complicated because there's like 4, so it's like 4 books in one. Khorne, you get a 5 at ward. I mean, that's pretty, it's suit heavy, so it's pretty good on a bloodthirster. Axe of Khorne, yeah. Plus 1 2. I mean, it's already strength 6, 7 on the charge. Do you really? And his weapons probably make it strength 9. I mean, do you really need it to? Is it really? And your heralds, do you really? Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's whatever. Collar of Khorne improves its magic resistance by 1. Now, I was thinking actually doing a Khorne demon list and taking Karanak and just saying he's like a demon prince and giving him that, which I think would be quite cool. And then whacking him in some flesh hounds, or just like a normal unit. That's pretty good. -1, any enemy wizard that can draw line of sight, -1 to any casting roll. So it effectively gives your entire army a stackable magic resistance 1 for 45 points. You know, as long as you keep that within line of sight of their wizard. So again, if you're putting your guy on like a chariot, you can pretty much, you should be able to sort that out. Rerolling charges is always very useful. So there's a lot of useful stuff in Khorne, and the stuff is naturally very strong, but there's not that much janky stuff you can do with it. Not like Tzeentch and all of its magic, and not like Slanesh and the Super Keeper. Nurgling Infestation I love just because it's just characterful. So a Nurgling swarm of D3 models, when it dies, it's just like, and then there's loads of Nurglings just sort of land down. You know, I really like this, like Sloppity Bile Piper. You can take a Herald and call it Sloppity Bile Piper and give it this upgrade, which, you know, gives friendly demon of Nurgle units +1 move. I mean, that's pretty good, to be honest, especially with the bloat flies, because, you know, they've got swift stride anyway, so that's, you know, you've more or less made blot flies of Slaanesh, sort of. And, you know, that re-rolling the 6 to hit against Nurgle, against all Nurgle, is, I think, pretty strong as a defensive mechanic. So, you know, Demonic Herald's his troop type is infantry only. No, that's not the one I was looking at. That's pretty cool for a Greater Demon, just a 4-up, just full plate. I mean, you know, that's pretty good. This is absolutely freaking amazing. Yes, it's 50 points, but, you know, your Plague Bearers have got poisoned attacks. Like, you just get bonus combat result points for each unsaved wound caused by poison attacks. Like, I mean, that could be like loads of extra combat results for that. It could be rubbish though, and actually 50 points is a bit expensive for something that relies on you rolling 6s and then your opponent failing armor save. Actually, I thought it was amazing. I've gone off the idea now. But basically anything that gives you additional combat results is, you know, automatically something definitely worth considering. Rotten Icon's a bit weird, so you still get flanks, but you don't get bonuses to rear charges, but you still get disrupted, so you still lose your ranks, is what that means, because it's 10 points. It's like, not sure that, you know, not sure that's any good. Gifts of Slaanesh, again, that's how you get your Infernal Enrapturous. You take a Herald, you turn it into an Enrapturous, gives your guys +1 to cast, and gives their guys -1 to cast. Like, you know, whilst within the command range. So it's better if that's your locus, but, you know. Yeah, I don't think there was anything else. Oh no. This is pretty good, but you kind of need a Herald to do it because it's over 50 points. Basically, all the units, their banners are 50 points, so you could give that to your Herald for -D3 to weapon skill and initiative, which they're pretty decent weapon skill, so that could be pretty nasty. So for a D3 modifier, yeah. So you roll 1 D3 and it applies to both. I mean, that's pretty good as well. So you lose your initiative bonus when you charge them in the front. I mean, yeah. Not sure about that one. So Gifts of Tzeentch. I mean, that's all right, but like, like, I mean, it's good against swarms, but like, it's quite scary if you're up against that. Like, you don't want to fail your toughness test, but what's around the model where you reroll a single D6? That may be... okay, so this is the other one that you give to get Kairos, because once per round you just re-roll a D6, so you get a command point re-roll every single round. So essentially there's a round which is each player having a turn. So you have a player turn, and then 2 turns make up a round. So once per round it can just re-roll on its own, part of a batch, part of a multiple dice roll. So it could be a leadership thing, it can be a charge thing, it can be any D6, any casting roll, dispelling, unbinding, you know, whatever. That's like Kairos' ability. So give Kairos Will of Tzeentch and Twin Heads. There you do. You've got Kairos. No. Icon of Sorcery is pretty good if you're going to take a big block of pink horrors. So maybe you want a big block of 30 pink horrors. Say, you know, for what, I don't know why you'd want that, but anyway, if you do, then you'd probably want to give it this because the bound spell becomes double its power level. Remember, you can't miscast on bound spells, so you're never going to lose any pink horrors to your bound spell. Right, so let's look at these spells. There's 4. Oh no, what we haven't done is we haven't looked at the weapons. We'll do that quick. So this is your Bloodletter weapon, strength, AP1, cleaving blow. So cleaving blow is not killing blow. It basically means ignore armor if you roll a 6 to wound. So that's pretty good. And AP1 is pretty useful as well. Plague sword. Regen saves are not permitted against wounds caused by this weapon. Oh, plague bearers don't have poisonous attacks then. Oh, okay. Sorry, I stand corrected. I thought plague sword gave them poisonous attacks. However, it means regen saves are not allowed. So actually, plague bear. That's what I was thinking of. Plague bearers against undead is just an unfair matchup for undead because essentially everything kind of just crumbles. So like it doesn't regenerate. Once you get hit with a plague sword, it's not regenerating. It just crumbles to slush. And it's Armor Bane 1, which is, you know, not to be sniffed at really. These are Nurgle grenades. They're strength +1, AP1, move and shoot, i.e. move and march and shoot, sorry, and multiple wounds D3. But they're not quick shot, so you still have to be, you know, -1 to hit if you did move. But you know, whatever, like you know, you can fly 18 inches with them and then chuck all these and it does multiple wounds, so you know they're good for chucking at like other monstrous cav. Piercing claws, these are the demonettes sort of weapon. Again, the strength 3, so but the thing is it's AP, yes AP1, armor bane 2, so you roll a 6 to wound and it's -3 to the save. Not quite as good as cleaving blow, sort of, but you get extra attacks. So demonettes have another attack on the corn guys, and they've got armor bane 2. So I mean, I don't know which one's better between those two. They have, pardon me, they have overall more or less the same effect, except I think these are slightly better. Aside from the fact that, you know, Bloodletters are going to be like strength 5 and demonettes are going to be strength 3. So, you know, the extra attacks with that strength and blah, 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 it kind of all nets out to being more or less the same. Then you got Flames of Zinch. These are the pink horror, blue horror, just flaming attacks. Range 18 is pretty good. Quick shot, so no penalty for move and shoot. Again, they're flaming, so that's good against undead. And multiple shots too, so everything gets 2 shots. Multiple shots too does mean they're -1 to hit though. So they're only ballistic skill 3 in general, so they're going to be hitting on like, you know, 5s to begin with, and probably 6s for long range at quite a bit of the game. You know, quick shot, I don't think... I don't know why I can't get these to stick in my head. Quick shot. Yeah, so they're still -1 to hit on stand and shoot. So stand and shoot, you know, you get 2 shots and they're still basically hitting on 6s. So they're not great. And Lamprey, yeah, it gets multiple wounds D3 only against monsters. So, you know, again, strength 4, are you really going to be wounding monsters? Probably not, but... you know, every little helps. So anyway, Cacophonic Hymn remains in play. Now, the stupidity thing, because it remains in play, you can get rid of it. What this is really, really, really super good for is it gets rid of any enchantments. So if you're going up against a unit, so this is the Slaneshi thing, if you're going up against a unit that your opponent has enchanted to make them better, this just deletes all of them. Like, that ability is so good, because I don't think I've seen that anywhere else, where you can just get rid of enchantments, like, in your turn. Like, that's really, really good. And it becomes subject to stupidity. However, like, if they've got a wizard, they can just get rid of it in their turn. Although with a casting value of 10, I mean, that's not guaranteed, is it? Like, they could remain stupid for a bit. But then you can enchant it again. But, you know, I mean, getting rid of enchantments before you charge the unit, you know, especially if your opponent's, like, enchanted a unit, so it's like +1 toughness and +1 whatever, and, you know, they've put some demonology thing on it. You just say, no, none of that. Get rid of all that. You know. Plague Wind, Magical Vortex. Now, this is brilliant because it's a -1 modifier to toughness, which makes your attacks, like, so effective. Yeah, any unit the template touches a move over suffers a -1 modifier for the remainder of the turn. So, like, and the template's dangerous terrain, although it's a remaining to play with casting value 7, so it's ridiculously easy to get rid of. But, you know, it can stick around, and, you know, it's a really good one to cast just before you're about to charge into stuff, because you reduce their toughness. So, and you can do that for multiple units as well, because, you know, you can, so it says place a small blast template so it's centralized within 12 of the caster. So you can sort of overlap it over 2 units if they're, you know, if they're close enough together. Pink Fire. Now, this is the spell that is designed for the pink horrors, obviously, because its casting value is an 8. Given their rank bonus of 2, you need to roll a 6 to get it as a bound spell, right? You're probably not going to do Gift of Mutation. You might do. Pink Fire, D3 +3, Strength 3 hits, AP nothing, flaming attacks. So it's not brilliant as a magic missile, but thematically, it's like the iridescent horror, i.e. the unit champion, has better pink fire, basically, but he needs to roll for it before he can cast it. So he's got his normal flames of Tzeentch, but then he's got this super flame of Tzeentch. So again, it's thematic, it's really good, and I just really like it. Like, it just kind of makes sense and adds up a bit. And it's a bound spell, so you can cast that as a bound spell, so you can't miscast it, you know? So you can do all of these pink fire things first without worrying about miscasting and stopping yourself from casting any more spells. Gift of Mutation. So it's a hex, -D3 to weapon skill, strength, toughness, right? If you cast it with 12 or more, target enemy unit, 2 of those characteristics. Weapon skill, strength, toughness. That's amazing. So taking 2 off toughness is really, really super useful. So, I mean, you might do that with pink horrors, but I mean, I think you're going to see that a lot on pink horrors because it just makes sense. It feels right. Whereas that feels a bit more like you want to get the 12 off, really, and it's kind of a close range thing. So, you know, do you really... But I suppose if you're going to get charged by something, then casting that on it and getting rid of 2 toughness, so when you do your stand and shoot, your strength 3 attacks actually have a decent chance of wounding. You know, especially if you do that against, like, some Bretonian knights who are just about to charge you, so you make them, like, toughness 1. I mean, that's pretty cool. So, I don't know. To me, that feels right. But anyway, that's a rundown of the demon list. I mean, I think there is a ridiculous Slanesh combo there. But again, it's not amazing, is it? It doesn't seem massively overpowered. You can make your Keeper of Secrets brilliant in your turn, because remember those demonology buffs are for the remainder of the turn. So, like, meh. So you can turn your Keeper of Secrets into, like, a raging bullet of death. However, you know, it may not stick around. I mean, toughness 6 is good, but it has no armor, and the sort of things that you're going to be hitting it with are the sort of things that might have magical attacks. So, like, I don't know. I think a unit of chosen knights could take it out, and they're nowhere near 330 points. So, meh. Anyway, well, thanks for listening. I mean, please do, if you do have made it all this way, thank you very much. Please do comment, or share, like, something. Subscribe. I always forget this bit. If you like the video, if you've liked the video, I can't remember who says that. Is that Disparu? That's another channel I like watching. He's very funny, a bit over the top sometimes, but still very funny. Like I said, a bit over the top, but I don't swing either way politically. So, I listen to all sorts of people, really. Listen to in the literal sense rather than the figurative sense. I tend to make my own mind up about things. Thank you very much. That sounds very boomerish, doesn't it? Anyway, but I'm going to stop rambling now and digging holes for myself in subjects that I don't really have any interest. Massive. I mean, I'm a pragmatist. I have really no interest in politics per se. But anyway. I don't know why I'm talking about this. I'm talking about demons of well, I suppose to an extent, demons are, it's massively political, this whole kind of constant roiling between the four gods. So maybe that's what's in the back of my mind whilst I'm talking nonsense at the end. Are you going to do a mixed god list? I'll just address that very, very quickly before I let you go. Personally, I'd advise against it. I don't think there's much benefit in doing so, apart from if you want to take like a Great Unclean One, a Herald of Nurgle, and some Plague Bearers, some Nurglings, and probably some beasts or maybe some drones. And then you want to back that up with some burning chariots that you're going to turn into wizards. So level 3 wizards with +1 to cast for a bit of magical support at the back. And take some spells that's going to buff up your Nurgle units, allowing the Great Unclean One to take some spells that's going to do a bit of damage so it can lead from the front. That sounds like a good list. I don't see any point of like Khorne or Slaanesh other than on their own. I mean, so what that question is really asking is, are there any outstanding units that function on their own? So again, Burning Chariots definitely, Soul Grinders possibly, Flamers possibly. I mean, they're not massively pretty quick, but they're not massively quick. I don't think any of these are like amazing on their own. They kind of need to be accompanied by their icon and probably their greater demon, which is kind of how it's built to be. I think Beasts of Nurgle are pretty good as well, but again, all of the really good stuff is in rare, so you can't take one of everything. I think skull cannons are pretty good, like a couple of cannons. They're not expensive. So beasts, because you can like put them on the flank of your army and they can't be outflanked basically. So, that's pretty good. A couple of units of them. I mean, but that's quite expensive. But again, it's a really good flank defense. So you could have like, I don't know, a Khorne heavy army with a few units of beasts on the flanks just to protect your flanks, because you just can't get outflanked if Yeah. I think Fiends are okay. They're not. Hellflayers are pretty good, actually. I think because they come on their own. Like, the rules make them pretty good. However, the models are honking. Like, really. Oh, I hate it. That's just my preference. I just really hated putting that model. I've only got one, but it's such a nightmare. I'm not going to get any more. I was planning like this massive Slaneshi list, and like I put one of those together and thought, ugh, I'm not doing that again. It's horrible. Yeah, anything else that's brilliant? To be fair, Pink Horrors, because of their bound spell shenanigans, that's okay. Yeah, there's the thing is, if you're looking at this, I mean, definitely the Slanesh Greater Demon with all of its cool stuff is great. But then what would you ally it with that would give it a better chance of living long enough to survive a few rounds of shooting? I mean, you haven't really got much that you could take a soul grinder to like put in front of it to sort of screen it, because you can't see a large target behind a large target, so you can do that with a soul grinder, and you can hide your keeper of secrets behind that. But I genuinely think actually it's probably better if you just focus on like one god. I mean, like I said, one god, but maybe with some of the rare choices from another god, just to like do stuff like protect your flanks, or give you a bit more artillery, or give you with soul grinders and skull cannons, or give you a bit more magical support with burning chariots, like fully upgraded. So yeah. Which is kind of how it's built, actually, because you could just take like a corn list and some magic at the back with some like flaming chariots. Because like if your general is a demon of corn, blood crushes, so like all the stuff that's rare becomes special as long as it's aligned with your god. So you could do that, or you could take some beasts to stop yourself getting outflanked, easily. So yeah, that's my take, and I'm going to shut up now, and that's it. So again, comment if you want, like the video if you found it to be beneficial. If you can, subscribe. I'm going to be doing this sort of commentary with all of these things. I am planning to do like a video where I'm going through a few battle reports and highlighting some errors that other channels have made during their battle reports, because I don't think often enough these channels go back and review their previous battle reports and just highlight the mistakes they've made. I'm not saying that that's their kind of oh, look at these people, aren't they arseholes? I'm not doing that at all. I'm just saying it's a complicated game, stuff gets missed all the time, and actually it'd be really useful, I think, especially to new players, to see like some really seasoned players making some sometimes pretty basic cock-ups and just pointing out, well, no, that's not, you shouldn't do it like that. This is how to do it properly. So I'm planning to do that. Again, if you've made it this far, let me know if you'd find that useful, and catch you around soon. Toodle pip.